I am going to do a demonstration of slip stitch knitting. There is a 4-row repeat, and I'm going to do it once with the yarn held in my right hand or throwing, and once with the yarn in my left hand or picking. I've already cast on and worked my setup row, which is purling in the main color, and I'm ready now to add my contrast color. The way I like to do this is to cross the new yarn underneath the old one, and then tie the new yarn to itself in half a knot. So I'm just crossing the ends. There's a circle of my new yarn, old yarn in between. Put the end through just once for a half knot, pull it, scooch it up close to the last stitch, and then pull it tight to hold it in place. I like this because it doesn't create a large knot that's an issue, but it still feels pretty firm. So now starting my row 1, I'm going to knit 1 stitch. I'm going to slip 1 stitch, and we always slip purlwise with the yarn on the wrong side of the work, which in this case is keeping the yarn in the back where it is. So slip 1, knit 1. This is my 3 stitch repeat, so I'm going to do it again. Knit 1, slip 1 purlwise with the yarn in the back, knit 1, and we repeat. Knit 1, slip 1 purlwise, knit 1, knit 1, slip 1, knit 1. I cast on 15 stitches, so I will get to the end of my repeat at the end of my row, which is perfect. So you can see here, although I was only carrying the gray yarn along that row, I have quite a few of the gold loops on my needle, and that's because they've been moved up from the previous row. Now, moving on to row 2, still with my gray yarn, which is pretty obvious because it's the only one that's here. Row 2 is just going to be a purl row. So I'm going to go a little fast if you don't mind. Some slip stitch patterns, the wrong side rows would be just following, so in that case I would be purling the gray stitches and slipping the gold ones, but this pattern doesn't have that feature. This particular one is one of many variations of houndstooth patterns, so you'll see we get a look a bit like a woven houndstooth when we have a few more rows and enough to see. Now I'm ready for row 3. I'm going to use my gold, and that's kind of obvious because I'm at this side where they both are. In most cases, slip stitch patterns are basically 2-row stripes with the slip stitches added in. So row 3, I'm going to slip the first stitch, again always purlwise with the yarn on the wrong side, unless otherwise specified. And then I'm going to knit 2. And that's my 3-row repeat this row. So slip 1, knit 2. Slip 1, knit 2. And then I'm ready for row 4, which is a wrong side row with the gold. And again, that's kind of obvious because that's the only one that's ready. The other yarn is on the other side. And here I'm going to purl the whole row with my gold yarn. One thing that's really nice about slip stitch compared to stranded color work where you're carrying 2 or more colors across the row is you don't have to worry a whole lot about your tension, especially if you're not slipping a large group of stitches together. If you're slipping 4 or more, you might want to just be careful that you're not stranding the float too tightly across the back of the work, but if it's just a stitch or 2, it's generally not going to make much of a difference. When I mentioned floats, those are these wider stitches here where you can see it skims over or skips over a stitch below. They look a little different than the purls on this side. Oh, and it looks like this stitch fell off my needle. Let's catch that and go ahead and purl it. Those edge stitches can be tricksy sometimes. So that is my full 4-row repeat. I'm going to do it again in continental or picking style so that you can see what that looks like, and also so you can see a little bit more of the pattern. So now I'm back to row 1. And notice every time I'm at this side with both yarns, I just take a second to detangle them, because if you don't do that, you can make quite a mess. And the more you ignore it, the worse it gets. So here my repeat for row 1 again. Knit 1, slip 1, knit 1. Knit 1, slip 1, knit 1. And again, since we're slipping these purlwise with the yarn on the wrong side of the work, it's already there, so all I do is move the stitch over. No need to do anything else fancy. And for row 2, I'm going to purl back with this contrast color, or gray. You can see here it is quite a bit faster working with the yarn in my left hand like this. If you ever are interested in knitting faster, I would suggest switching over to this picking method, which again is sometimes called continental, although it's done in various parts of the world, so it might not be the best name for it. So here we are ready for row 3, which is my main color, or bronze. And we start with a slip one, and then knit 2. Slip 1, knit 2. And finally, for row 4 again, I'm going to purl the entire row with the same color. So, benefits of slip stitch knitting is that you don't have to carry more than one color at a time, which makes it pretty simple to do, and you don't have to worry so much about tension. So you can see I'm starting to get my houndstooth patterning here. It'll show more the more I do it. You will see there's some elongated or taller stitches. Those are the ones that are slipped. When this is blocked, those are going to not shorten exactly, but just look a little bit more even. But you will always get that slight texture from having some stitches that are different lengths.